It's a new year, 2025, and you're probably thinking, how am I going to make this year different? How can I make this the best year ever? How am I going to build something for myself? I'm dying to be my own boss or see if I can turn this business idea I've been kicking around into a reality. But I don't know how to make that happen. Shopify is the key, and let me tell you how. The best time to start your new business is right now. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. No coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. They help with details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. What happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? What if someone beats you to the idea? Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything now. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Established in 2025. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/redcircle.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply. Subject to approval.
Welcome to the Dynasty Dugout Show, a podcast covering all things minor league baseball. Get a front row seat to the action with everything you need to know about the future stars of Major League Baseball. And now, here's your host, Chris Clegg.
It's the Dynasty Dugout Show, and today we're talking Major League Baseball's top catching prospects. It's a deep crop. Honestly, as long as I've been evaluating prospects, this is as deep as I remember it being. There's a ton of talent, and some will be ready this year, but there's a deep list of players that I want to get into and discuss today. So, as we dive in, we're going to talk about Major League Baseball's top catching prospects. Who are the sleepers? Who's going to break out this year? Who's going to make an impact at the Major League level? There are quite a few. So, let's dive in. Starting at the top, Samuel Basallo, the Baltimore Orioles. Basallo's interesting. Turned 20 years old at the end of last season, so he spent most of the year as a 19-year-old in Double-A. He did reach Triple-A at season's end. He held his own. I know the results weren't as good at Triple-A, but you look at the overall results for the season, and they were quite good. Factor in Basallo's age, he was working on catching, and considering that he put up good numbers despite that, I think the underline really stands out to me. Hits the ball incredibly hard. He ran a 9th percentile exit velocity of 107 miles an hour. So we know that the talent level is there to hit for big power. So internally, the Orioles love this guy. He's been untouchable for them for 2 straight off seasons now. And while they had a big crop of prospects last year, and I know the Orioles haven't made a ton of moves, but Basallo was their one untouchable last season, which that speaks a lot of volume when you think about the fact that there were some talented guys there. Now, Basallo is interesting because he's quite aggressive, and that hurts him at times. He chased it around a 32% clip, which is a little bit above average. It's a little higher than you like to see. But again, we are talking about a kid that was 19 years old, facing pretty quality pitching in Double-A and then Triple-A to end the year. I would like to see him be a bit more aggressive in the zone. So we talk about aggressiveness. He's aggressive on pitches out of the zone, but pitches in the zone, I would like to see that swing rate go up a bit. I think that's where Basallo could really benefit. But we know the power's there. I mean, he's got a fantastic frame. Does he stick behind the plate? I don't know. I think that's a good question. Last year he caught 56 games. He also DH'd 35 times, and he played first 32 times. Here's what I think happens. The Orioles have Adley Rutschman behind the plate. So I think the best case scenario for Basallo is that he catches Adley a couple days a week, so it gives Adley a couple days off. Adley can DH. Basallo plays him first, and he DHs some. There is a logjam of prospects there, and if we're honest, I don't expect Samuel Basallo to be up in 2025, unless it's the end of season. It's just a nice cup of coffee. But I do think this is a big development year. Basallo will spend the entire 2025 season at 20 years old, at least up until mid-August, and he's going to likely start the year in AAA. So if he holds his own, I don't see any reason why we can't see him get that cup of coffee and start the 2026 season in Baltimore. Behind the plate, I think he does some decent things. I think he's capable of catching a couple days a week, but Basallo's bat's the carrying tool. It's plus power. It's a solid field to hit. I think that when all is said and done with his development, Basallo's going to be an incredible bat. So the next guy also is an interesting situation. It's a crowded situation, but Dalton Rushing is my number 2 catching prospect from the standpoint of just his bat is so good. Now, with Rushing, we know that they were putting him in the outfield last year down the stretch. He was learning that position. There was legitimate talk about whether he would be on the postseason roster for the Dodgers or not. And that says a lot about the quality of Dalton Rushing because they wanted his bat in the lineup that much. Like, he was that good at the plate. Since he's been drafted, Dalton Rushing has done nothing but hit. He broke out in his junior season at Louisville. He sat behind Henry Davis for 2 seasons. He comes out, he dominates, and since coming into pro ball, he's done nothing but hit. He hit 24 home runs last season. He slashed 271, 385, 512, a really solid mark. He had a 142 WRC plus, which was one of the highest marks of any full season minor leaguer, not just catchers. He's actually shown some improvements behind the plate too. He's worked there. He's improved his arm. He threw out 30% of base runners last year while also working in the outfield. It's an impressive combo of skills. Rushing with the bat, it's power first, but there's also a really high OBP floor. So with Rushing, he's disciplined. We're looking at a career chase rate around 20%, so very solid mark there. He doesn't expand the zone often. He's going to get on base. And the contact skills have steadily improved as well. It was a 77% contact rate last year, which well above league average for double and AAA, and then an 83% in-zone contact rate. Both those extremely good. Hits the ball hard, hits the ball at ideal launch angles. It was one of the highest ex-Wobicons in the minors. I'm incredibly high on Dalton Rushing's bat. I'm incredibly low on his future outlook just because he's blocked in LA. How does he get into the lineup? This team keeps signing players. They've got Will Smith locked up. They've got Austin Barnes on the roster this year. So how does Dalton Rushing fit in 2025? I have no idea. I know his bat's good enough to play. He can hit major league pitching. Is he traded? This is a pretty good asset, and it would take a big return, I think, to move Dalton Rushing, but I wouldn't rule out the fact that he's traded. But it's going to be hard to find a spot for him. So I don't know how this factors in 2025, but long-term, this bat's going to be really, really good. Also, a caveat is I'm talking about these bats, like as I'm going through some of the rankings, they're more dynasty-focused, so fantasy baseball, so the bat certainly has an emphasis. But, also you have to factor in the glove too, because if a guy moves off the position, like someone I'm going to talk about next, how do they fit? And ultimately, how does the bat then play? And that's my biggest question with Moises Ballesteros of the Cubs. He's got a tremendous bat. He's shown that year over year. I saw him in the AFL. It's a really good field to hit. It's some sneaky pop. His frame is my biggest question. He's listed 5'7", 195. There's no doubt that he's bigger than 195, but at the same time, I don't know if he can catch. And that's my question. Does he stick at catcher long term? The bat's good, but does he develop enough behind the plate then to ultimately be a catcher long term? He would be the shortest first baseman in MLB history by a decent little bit. And so that's a bit concerning to me too, because then if we're talking about a DH, how's the bat factor? I don't know if he gets enough power to play DH at the major league level. But with Ballesteros, it's great contact skills. I mentioned Dalton Rushing's numbers. Ballesteros is a little bit better, 78%, 85% in-zone contact. Those are really good. Solid OBP skills as well. You look at the batted ball numbers. He ran an average exit velocity around 88.5 miles an hour and a ninth percentile up to 105. So solid power, and solid contact skills. He was also a 20-year-old that reached AAA. They pushed him pretty aggressively. And at first, there were some struggles in AAA. I mean, rightfully so. That was a tough spot for a 20-year-old. But Ballesteros of the Chicago Cubs, interesting prospect, good bat. Defense, I don't know where he fits. On the flip side of the spectrum, let's go to somebody that does have good defense, and that's Teel, who was traded from the Red Sox to the White Sox in the Garrett Crochet deal. Teel was tracking to be the Red Sox catcher this year. Now, he's in a situation where they have Edgar Quero. They traded for Corey Lee last year. This is a more crowded catching situation. Do I think Teel is the best pure catcher of the group? Absolutely. Do I think Teel could spend half the year in AAA Charlotte? I do think that's a real possibility. I'll be interested to see how that shakes out. But Teel put together a really solid 2024 season between AA and AAA. He slashed .288, .386, .433 with 13 homers, 23 doubles, and 12 stolen bases. Teel's a really good athlete. He moves well behind the plate. Also, he can move around the field. They could experiment with him at second base, a corner outfield spot. He's a good enough athlete to make that work. The power's more fringe average. I mean, the exit velocities aren't great, but he did top out at 110. He put up a 9th percentile around 102, which is below the major league average, so a little bit lower than the threshold we'd like to see. But again, when you're talking about a catcher with good skills, a good arm, good receiver, and good athleticism behind the plate, you can live with a little bit below average power. So I think that Teel's capable of slotting in as the White Sox catcher fairly soon in 2025, but I also think they probably send him to AAA, and he gets some work there. Edgar Quero might also be there. So how does that factor in? Well, we can also talk about Quero. Quero made some tweaks in his swing, and it really paid off. He had an incredible year last year. It was interesting progression for Quero, actually. Like, he was incredible in 2022. He had a down 2023 season, and he was traded from the Angels to the White Sox. And then this swing change led to really good production in 2024. Quero's contact skills improved, but they've always been pretty good. He ran a 78% overall and an 82% in-zone contact. The power gains were legit as well. He hit 16 home runs, and he had an average exit velocity north of 88 miles an hour. And the biggest thing is that Quero was able to raise his launch angle some and barrel up more balls. He'll be 21 on opening day in 2025. I think he's made impressive strides. I like Quero a lot, but the question is, how does he work with Teel? And I don't have a good answer to that question right now. The White Sox are going to give him both a chance. Both bats are major league bats, in my opinion. And I would say that Teel's the slightly better catcher behind the plate. But that doesn't mean that Quero is not going to find time in the majors. I absolutely think that his bat can play. So it'll be fun to see how this shakes out. But Teel and Quero could make a really good duo for a long time. We've seen this route from several major league teams. Having two good catchers on your roster can be a huge benefit to the team. And we've seen successful teams make this work. So it's a real possibility that this is what happens. Another situation where there are multiple catchers, but there won't be this coming year, and that's the Detroit Tigers, who have two very stout hitting prospects in Thayron Liranzo and Josue Briseño. We'll go and put the caveat on it that Briseño is not catching anymore. He's a first base only prospect. He called to begin 2024. He had an injury. They moved him all to position completely. He grew substantially. He's up to 6'4", maybe 6'5". He is now a first base only prospect. So we won't talk about him here, but know that that bat's there. It's really good. And I think there had been some discussion about how would Briseño and Liranzo work. Liranzo is interesting because people had written off his glove pretty quick. A lot of people were kind of like, he's not going to catch. I'll tell you what, when I saw Thayron Liranzo in the AFL, I was highly impressed with him behind the plate. He's a bigger guy. He moves well. I mean, there's some blocking issues at times, but his transition from glove to arm to be able to throw guys out is incredible. I got some really good pop times on Thayron Liranzo of the Tigers, 1.8, 1.9 range. The arm is incredible. I'd say it's close to a 70 grade arm. And the way he transitioned was so smooth, very quick. He's going to be a catcher, I think. Refining the skills over the years, he was impressive. And as a switch hitter, the bat's really good too with Liranzo. There's big power from both sides of the plate. I saw him hit from both sides several times and was very pleased. But actually, the OPS as a left-handed bat was much lower than right-hander. I thought the swing is more smooth from the left side. It looks more natural, but he hit or 730 OPS is a left-handed bat, and 955 OPS is a right-handed bat. The power's legit. Liranzo had 108 mile an hour, 9th percentile exit velocity. That's top tier among all catching prospects, and it's top tier among all prospects in general. By MLB standards, that's like 65 grade. Like, we're looking at hitters, I don't know, like that's Junior Caminero power for reference. Like, he was right in the 108 range. So big power from Liranzo. The contact skills are around average, and I think the plate discipline is good enough to work. I came away from the AFL much higher on Thayron Liranzo after seeing him in person and being impressed with his catching skills. Now, this guy, unfortunately, didn't play much in 2024. And that's Jeferson Quero of the Milwaukee Brewers. Quero, unfortunately, was injured the first game of the year and actually his first plate appearance. He walked in his first at-bat, and he was picked off at first base. As he slid back in head first, he dislocated his shoulder and tore his labrum. Quero was primed to be catching Milwaukee in 2024. Now, we know William Contreras is behind the plate there, and the bat's incredible. Quero's not going to push off William Contreras, but Quero is going to catch, and he's a very good defensive catcher. One of the better defensive catchers that we're going to talk about today. He threw out 35% of runners in 2023. That's an impressive mark. He has a strong arm. He's a good receiver, very good behind the plate, but the bat is no slouch either. He is an impressive contact hitter with good power. It's a strong frame. Quero's 5'11", 215. It's kind of your prototypical catcher frame. It's a really good bat and glove. I would dare say that if Jeferson Quero had been healthy all year, we might be talking about him among the top 3 catching prospects in the game. And I don't think that's even crazy to say now if you're factoring in the glove and the arm. The talent level is there. It's a very simple approach. He uses a toe tap. The swing's fairly flat at times, which is the question of how much power will he get to. But I believe that Quero ultimately is going to be a really solid bat and be a plus catcher behind the plate at the major league level. I think we'll see him in Milwaukee this year, pending the shoulder being healthy, and him contributing at the major league level. This is a really good bat. It's Jeferson Quero of the Milwaukee Brewers. One of the youngest catchers on this list is Ethan Salas, San Diego Padres. Now, it's been so interesting to see his progress and how people have valued him because Salas basically was rushed too fast, put that nicely. He signed in January 2023, $5.6 million bonus. He skipped the DSL, but also the complex. He debuted in single A just 2 days before turning 17, which is wild. So he was then pushed to double A as a 17-year-old. That's too much. He wasn't ready. I personally believe that his development was stunted by being sent to high A and then double A. Salas, he had a down year. It wasn't a good year at all in 2024 if you look statistically. But if you look under the hood, the numbers were actually pretty good. And Salas is very polished. He's one of the most polished defensive catchers I've seen at that age. Pretty impressive. Now, with Ethan Salas, first time I had seen him was the AFL. And here's what I saw. I saw a hitter that knows the strike zone exceptionally well. I saw a catcher that was advanced beyond his years behind the plate. But I saw a hitter that might be a little too selective at the plate. And I think that may have led to some surface numbers being a little lower than you'd like to see. You look at the slash line, it was 206, 288, 311. Yeah, it's really disappointing at the end of the day. But he did have 27 doubles. He had 2 triples. He showed some good things down the stretch, too. Over his final 36 games, Salas hit 4 home runs. He had 13 doubles. The contact rates went way up, which they were good all year, actually. And his OPS jumped by 100 points. So he finished the year very strong. And overall, Salas made contact at a 78% clip. This is as an 18-year-old in high A. That'll play. There's juice in the bat. I think you look at the frame, I could see him developing into an average power bat with time, too. And the pop times are really good on Ethan Salas as well. He's going to be challenged. He's going to be sent to Double A to start 2025, most likely. I actually say that's a positive thing for Salas because being in high A in the Midwest League in April and May is a horrible thing. The weather is terrible. And that could lead to another slow start and make it maybe even a bigger struggle on Salas. And then I'd say start him in the Texas League, and I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to start in the Texas League in Double A, and ultimately, hopefully be in the space to have his confidence and just roll right in. Does he spend all year there? Maybe. There's talk about him debuting in 2025. I think that'd be absolutely insane, to be honest with you. But I think that Salas is still really good. I think he's become hated on a little bit too much, and I think he's a little bit underrated at this point. So that's Ethan Salas of the San Diego Padres. Still a very good talent at the catcher position. This guy's also pretty young. I'm going to talk about next. That's Eduardo Tait, the Philadelphia Phillies. 17-year-old catcher last year in complex ball, goes to single A. He had an incredible season. I got to see him when I spent some time in Florida at the complex and in the Florida State League. This is an impressive bat, but it's also a decent arm behind the plate, decent glove. I was overall pretty impressed with Eduardo Tait. His numbers are off the charts. We talk about power. Talk about a 17-year-old. He hit a ball 112 miles an hour last year. He had 104 mile an hour ninth percentile exit velocity. Few 17-year-olds can do that with a wood bat. Now, the contact skills are fairly interesting, and Tait is very aggressive. He chased a 39% clip last year. Can that work as he moves up? Hard to say. But Eduardo Tait, I would expect, improves on that. The contact skills are strong in the zone, 85% in-zone contact. That's really good. Behind the plate, I mean, it's pretty good stuff. He showed a good arm for me. He threw out 33% of base runners. I think he controls the run game pretty well for lower level where pitchers can't hold runners at all. Eduardo Tait looks like a future power hitter. Whether his body allows him to stick behind the plate or not is my question. He's listed at 6 foot, 175. I don't know if that's exactly the case. He's a little bit bigger than that. Very stocky frame. And for a 17-year-old, how does his body progress? So if it progresses well, then there's certainly the chance that he could stick. But he also, I wouldn't be shocked if he had to move off. Regardless, the bat's going to play. Eduardo Tait, Philadelphia Phillies.
It's a new year, 2025, and you're probably thinking, how am I going to make this year different? How can I make this the best year ever? How am I going to build something for myself? I'm dying to be my own boss or see if I can turn this business idea I've been kicking around into a reality. But I don't know how to make that happen. Shopify is the key, and let me tell you how. The best time to start your new business is right now. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. Get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates. No coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. Shopify makes it easy to manage your growing business. They help with details like shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. What happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? What if someone beats you to the idea? Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything now. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Established in 2025. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/redcircle.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply. Subject to approval.
Let's talk a couple of catchers that should play in 2025. Both NL East guys, and that's Drake Baldwin with the Atlanta Braves and Agustin Ramirez, who was traded from the Yankees now to the Miami Marlins. Let's talk Baldwin. Baldwin has been a under-the-hood StatCast darling his entire pro career. If you know anything about minor league park factors, you know that the Braves stadiums play horrific until they get to AAA. And even in AAA, Gwinnett is more neutral than anything. Low A Augusta's bad. High A Rome's a bad place to hit. Double A Mississippi was a terrible place to hit. I know the Double A team is now moving to Columbus, so we'll have to see how those park factors play, but I'd say it's only up. Mississippi is one of the worst places to hit. And so on the surface, Drake Baldwin's numbers were never really that great, and people kind of didn't pay much attention to him. he's somebody that I saw a lot, just seeing Augusta and seeing Rome and seeing the StatCast data. I was always impressed with Drake Baldwin. He showed out this year. He showed good contact skills, 81% overall contact rate's really good, 85% end zone, very solid, low chase rate of 23%. The power, extremely good. He had a 92-mile-an-hour average exit velocity and a ninth percentile of 106. That's good pop. Baldwin's progressed behind the plate. Travis d'Arnaud's gone. Sean Murphy's left, but Sean Murphy can't stay healthy. I know Chadwick Tromp's on the roster. I don't expect Drake Baldwin to break camp with the Braves, but I do expect Drake Baldwin to make major contributions in the Atlanta Braves lineup in some way. By midseason, I think he could be in the lineup 3-4 days a week. I wouldn't be shocked at all. So watch out for Drake Baldwin this year. That bat is potent. It's really good. Drake Baldwin of the Atlanta Braves. Agustin Ramirez, Miami Marlins. He was one of the hottest hitting prospects in all of baseball to begin the year last year. He was homering in basically like every other game. He ended up being part of the Jazz Chisholm trade, so he was moved over to Miami, and he settled in quite nicely in AAA in Jacksonville over the final month, as there were some bumps in the road when he was in AAA with the Yankees. But at the end of the day, Ramirez hit 25 home runs. He had 53 extra base hits, and he slashed 267, 358, 487. He struck out in 18% of plate appearances, 75% contact, 84% end zone, good walk rate, average chase rates, and there's legitimate power in the bat too. He had a 9th percentile exit velocity of 107, which is, very good. I mentioned some of the other guys like Liranzo with 108. Ramirez checks in at 107. Here's the problem. Ramirez is very capped because of his bat path. He hits a lot of balls on the ground, and I think he's going to have to make some tweaks to be able to get to velocity up in the zone. Fastballs up could hurt him given the swing path. Struggles with some breaking balls as well in AAA. I'm curious how this shakes out, but so far with what we've seen from Ramirez, it's really good pop, and it's respectable enough contact skills to work. So Agustin Ramirez is going to play. I mean, there's openings. He could easily slot in at catcher. He could easily slot in at first base for the Marlins. There's openings. He could even DH. I don't know how it shakes out, but I wouldn't be shocked if Ramirez gets 400 plate appearances in Miami this year. Watch out for him. I'll be kind of curious if, there's some swing tweaks this offseason. It'll be something I'm watching for in spring training, because that's the biggest deterrent right now for me with Ramirez is the flat path and the inability to get to high fastballs. So the adjustability with the barrel will be big for Ramirez, and if he can do that, it could pay off in a really big way. There's a trio of Royals catching prospects that I really like. I've seen them all. I'm very intrigued by what they have going on here. They all stick at catcher. I don't know, but I'd give the best probabilities of sticking behind the dish to Blake Mitchell. Mitchell was a top 10 overall pick. He was selected 8th overall in 2023. People kind of lost their mind because the Royals passed on Kyle Teel for the prep catcher in Mitchell. Prep catching track records aren't good. And at the end of the day, Mitchell came out in 2024. He surprised me. I sit on Columbia a lot. I live in South Carolina, so I see the single A team all the time. He was very good. The bat got better all year. Strikeout rate trended downward. The contact rates went up all year. There's potent power in the bat. He had a 105 9th percentile exit velocity at 19 years old. That's really good juice. He gets the ball in the air with ease. It was a 66% air rate, which is very high. He's athletic. He moves well. He steals bases. He's got a cannon behind the plate. There were some accuracy issues with Blake Mitchell at times, but there's a couple factors that are going on here. One is the fatigue. The accuracy got worse throughout the year. There's the fatigue of a long season for the first year in pro ball. And it's also, honestly, the Royals single-A pitchers were terrible at holding runners on base. They were getting good jumps. Mitchell had to be extremely quick, and it led to some inaccuracy. The pop times on Mitchell I got were really good. I think he's going to be fine behind the dish. I'm excited to see what he does in 2025, but I like the bat and the glove. Now, Carter Jensen of the Royals has probably a better bat than glove, but I do think Jensen's shown some improvements behind the plate as well as time has progressed. Jensen's bat's spectacular. He fully broke out in 2024, hit 18 home runs, showed athleticism, stole 17 bases. He also put up a really solid 259, 359, 450 slash. Very low chase rates for Carter Jensen, high OBPs, gets the ball in the air extremely often. He pulls the ball well. Good juice in the bat. I mean, we're talking his average exit velocity that jumped to 92 miles an hour. That's strong. He had a 105 9th percentile. and a 115 max. It's crazy power for Jensen. And if the glove, it works and he's able to stick behind the plate, then this is going to be a very potent MLB catcher with a really good bat. The biggest question I have is Ramon Ramirez of the Royals. Does he stick behind the plate? His bat I might like the most. Talking to somebody that was 18 years old at the complex that had come off a really good DSL season. People question, was it just the DSL? How would it play at the complex? And it played. Ramon Ramirez put up an 87% end-zone contact rate. He had a 26% chase rate, which was really good. He put up really good power numbers. They were Carter Jensen-esque power, 105 90th, but at 18 years old. He had a 111 max. Very strong. The power comes easily. Quick hands, powerful frame, powerful stroke, adjustability in the box too. There's no doubt that this bat will play. More of the question is, can Ramirez stick behind the dish? And if he does, then it's a spectacular bat. The other question is, if he moves off, where does he play? It might have to be a DH, which then puts a lot of pressure on the bat. But I do love some Ramon Ramirez, and this bat is spectacular. He'll be in single A. I'll get a lot of looks at him this year. So I'm really excited to see what Ramon Ramirez can do in 2025. Let me talk to you about the most underrated catching prospect in minor leagues. It's with the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, they've got a lot of catchers in the system, but I believe that Jimmy Crooks, St. Louis Cardinals catching prospect, is as underrated as they come. He put up spectacular numbers and gets no recognition. Yeah, he played just half a season in 2024, but in that half a season, he slashed 321, 410, 498 with 11 home runs. Not only that, but Jimmy Crooks showed exceptional skills behind the plate. He showed exceptional power and good contact and approach. Look at the contact numbers for Jimmy Crooks. 73% overall contact rate. He had an 81% end zone contact rate. Those will play. He had a 25% chase rate. That's good. He's going to walk at a serviceable clip. He picks up pitches well, but the batted ball data is crazy. 107 mile an hour ninth percentile with the lead launch angles. Like, we're talking like Dalton Rushing-esque quality of contact with Jimmy Crooks. So really, really good stuff with Crooks. I think Crooks might be the biggest sleeper on this list. He's one that should get more recognition. I think he's going to begin the year in AAA and be in the majors at some point in 2025. It's a polished catcher behind the plate, too. A big arm. He threw out 33% of base runners in AA. I mean, I really, really like Jimmy Crooks. I think he's flying under most people's radars, and I would be very, very excited to see what Crooks does in 2025. It's a very, very good talent all around. On the flip side, let's talk about somebody that struggled and why. Harry Ford of the Seattle Mariners. Ford's interesting because he's been quite hyped, and for good reason. 12th overall selection in the 2021 draft. This is a super athlete in Harry Ford. He moves exceptionally well. It's a smaller frame, but it can work. He's listed 5'10", 200. He might be a tad shorter than that, if we're being honest, of just being up close to him and me being 5'9" myself. I would say Ford's probably more my height. But with Ford, it's the athleticism, it's the ability to get on base, and some sneaky power potential. Now, Ford's interesting because you look at the surface numbers this year, and they were pretty bland. 249 average, 377 OBP, and a 367 slug. He hit 7 home runs and stole 35 bags. Ford played in one of the worst AA parks in baseball, though. And that's important to note. Pretty drastic home road splits. Ford ultimately hit 6 home runs on the road and 1 at home. The exit velocities, I think, are pretty respectable with Ford. While they did take a slight step back in 2024, I think it's something to watch. I think you can have 15 home run juice. I believe that. No doubt in my mind. He's a passive hitter. He picks his spots well. He swung at 40% of pitches, but he doesn't chase. You're at a 15% chase rate, which is really good. Like, you look at those kind of marks, and they're pretty spectacular. He's got a very good eye and some respectable contact rates at that. Now, the contact rates did kind of take a step back. You look at this year compared to previous years, it was a step back. So you have to wonder, like, was it an adjustment at AA pitching? Was it a focus on catching behind the plate while also trying to focus on hitting? Because we talk about this, the catcher position is really hard to develop behind the plate with your glove and also hit. So Ford's interesting. Ford's got a cannon of an arm. There's no doubt about that. He showed some major struggles against fastballs, though. Fastballs that were 94 plus, Ford was bad. I mean, he showed major swing and miss issues. It was around a 60% contact rate, if I'm not mistaken. Don't have it on in front of me. And he had like a $190, I think, against fastballs. It may have been lower than that. I think it may have been, I'll have to pull up the exact numbers. So Ford really struggled with high velocity. Can he get back to where he needs to be? Can he pick up and make contact on the breaking balls? He is picking up on the breaking balls. Making contact there, I think, is something to at least note and be wary of. So Harry Ford could bounce back in a big way in 2025. I hope they assign him to AAA and not AA, just from the standpoint of that better park. And there's some drastic splits. It's about 100 OPS difference home and road there. 2024 draftee, Walker Janek of the Houston Astros. Janek is somebody I got to see when he was with Asheville. It's a pretty strong bat. He does chase at a high clip. He's aggressive, but he kind of makes up for it with his end-zone contact. There's some sneaky juice there, but Janek has very strong skills behind the plate. He's definitely a glove-first catcher with a good bat, but good pop times. I got a 183 pop on him in one of the caught stealings that he had. In college, he put up some really good exit velocities, and they did take a bit of a step back in pro ball, but I do still believe in the bat with Walker Janek, so keep an eye on Janek. I think he could play very well and move fast through the system. He is the Houston Astros catcher of the future. A couple other quick names I want to hit on before we get out of here. One is Rafael Flores, New York Yankees. Why was Agustin Ramirez traded? Well, they've got a lot of talent in the system at catcher, and Rafael Flores is one of those guys. This is an impressive profile, in my opinion. Split time between high A, double A last year. He hit 279, 379, 495, 21 home runs, and 31 doubles. Spectacular season on the surface, but you're looking at spectacular power, too. Flores had a 93.5 mile an hour average EV. For reference, some of the best power hitters in the minors, like Spencer Jones and Xavier Isaac, were around 94. So Flores was right there with him. He had a 115 max and a 108 90th percentile exit velocity. The contact rates, he ended the year just shy of 70%, but in the second half, it was a 74% contact rate. So improvement, 23% chase rate, very good. Good eye, picks up pitches well, and a 406 ex-Wobicon. He was the Yankees minor league player of the year for Baseball America for a good reason. Rafael Flores' bat is legit. It's very, very good. So watch out for Flores this year. He could take a major, major step forward. Cooper Ingles, one that took a step forward this year. Cleveland Guardians system. Catcher out of Clemson. He was a fourth rounder. I really liked what I saw from Ingles. Now, the surface numbers were really good. 305, 419, 478. 11 home runs in 93 games between high and double A, but the surface numbers weren't quite there. 101 9th percentile is slightly below average, but he hits the ball at ideal launch angles and he pulls the ball with authority. The contact skills are elite with Cooper Ingles. Some of the best contact rates of any catcher in the game. 87% overall contact, 90% in zone with a sub 20% chase rate. The contact and plate discipline skills are plus. Even if the power's below average, Cooper Ingles is going to get to game power because he lifts the ball and he gets to the pull side often. He won't wind up on top 100 list most likely, but this is a interesting profile for the Guardians that I really like. I want to talk about one of the biggest draft sleepers of 2024. That's Josh Caron of the Seattle Mariners. He's somebody, as I've watched him more and more and looked at the data more and more, I've just pushed him up. Josh Caron. Wow. He had one of the best seasons statistically from a StatCast standpoint of any college hitter in the last 3-4 years. That includes some first-round catchers. Caron went in the fourth round. He was one of the younger college players taken, turned 21 on August 3rd. He had an impressive season. 16 home runs at Nebraska, 32 extra base hits in 60 games with a 308, 388, 579 slash. I don't care about the surface numbers for a Big Ten hitter as much as Caron put up some eye-popping numbers. 110 mile an hour, 9th percentile exit velocity. Yes, it was with a metal bat, and yes, that come down a little bit with the wood in his pro debut, but 114.5 mile an hour max. I mean, you talk about a college power profile, that's exactly what Cam Smith was like from an exit velocity standpoint, who went to the Cubs in the first round. Not far behind a Nick Kurtz power profile. Solid approach. He had a 24% chase rate. The contact on out-of-zone pitches was pretty low, but Kieran did make pitches or contact on pitches in the zone at an 88% clip, which is very good. So swings in the zone, 88% contact rate will absolutely play. Yeah, he stepped into pro ball and he hit the ground on the ball a little too much, but it was such a small sample. I'm not putting a lot of stock into it, but this will begin to come out more, and I'm going to push this more on social media after my FYPD. So I'm going to get Josh Karen. He's a spectacular bat, and he's good enough to stick behind the plate for the Seattle Mariners. They may have got a fourth-round steal. So great scouting by the Mariners and great draft pick. Mariners always do phenomenal in the draft, so it's good stuff there. A couple more before we get out of here. I want to hit on Edgar Perez with the Yankees. I saw him in the complex. It's a shorter frame. He was 17 years old, but I'm talking about an impressive bat. What Perez did, as far as a plate discipline and contact standpoint, is really, really good. 86% of swings in the zone he made contact on. 83% of overall swings he made contact on. The chase rate, incredibly low. Like, talk about a chase rate below 15%. Few can do that. And that's exactly what Edgar Perez did of the Yankees. I told you they were loaded at catcher. They've got a lot of guys. And Edgar Perez is somebody I'd watch out for. The bat speed's really good. It's very good contact and plate discipline skills. That's the name to know for 2025. Edgar Perez, New York Yankees. Finally, I want to talk about Rainel Rodriguez, spelled Rainel. DSL catcher, so again, like, we put the performance, and we put a caveat, we put a little asterisk by it because DSL performance, especially for catchers, how are they going to translate? But talking to some people in the organization that have worked with him has spoke very highly of Rodriguez. Statistically, he put up a great season. 10 home runs and a 345, 462, 683 slash. Yeah, that'll play. 186 WRC plus, spectacular bat. He's got some pop, no denying that. His 9th percentile was already above MLB average at 17, which is crazy. He had a 108 max. That's really good. The contact skills are more of the question mark. It was sub 80% in-zone contact against DSL pitching. That's not great. But if the contact skills improve and translate to stateside ball, Rainel Rodriguez is going to take a big leap forward. I've heard nothing but positive things about this kid. I'm excited to see him this year. There's talks of him starting the year in single A. We shall see, but very, very excited to see what Rainel Rodriguez of the St. Louis Cardinals does in 2025. I realized I forgot one name that I think is important. That's Alfredo Duno of the Cincinnati Reds. His season ended early on May 24th. Unfortunately, he had some broken ribs. He had a great DSL in 2023. He skipped straight to single A in 2024. He hit 3 home runs and 11 extra base hits in 32 games. Really good slash. It's big pop. He had a 106 9th percentile exit velocity. Duno is massive. He's 6'5" now. He's not listed at that, but he's up to 6'5". Does he stick behind the plate? I'm not sure. 6'5" is hard to stick behind the plate. We'll see. It's exceptional bat speed. He pulls the ball with ease and gets the ball in the air. I think the contact skills are the biggest question with Duno. His in-zone contact rate was 76%. That was actually improved on from the DSL, but he did have a 40% miss rate overall. So that's a concern when you have a 60% contact rate. I think that the OBP skills are there because it's a 14% chase rate. He picks up pitches well. But when Alfredo Duno's swinging, he's whiffing. But power upside's tremendous. Duno might have to move to first base this year, but you got to love the power potential and upside there with Alfredo Duno. Watch out for him because he can make a big surge in 2025. I think that's going to wrap it up. That was a lot of catchers in a short amount of time, but thank you for hanging out. I hope you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to put these on YouTube. I'm going to be doing YouTube videos every day now. I am going to try to grow the video side of things that I'm doing, but also get more content out there. Subscribe to the Dynasty Dugout Show, if you will, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. That's going to wrap us up. Thank you for hanging out today, and I will see you tomorrow.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live. Must start and file in app by 2/18.